Hey guys, it's Casey. I hope you all are doing really well this summer. So I am here today with probably, no, I think definitely the most requested video I've ever had on my channel, and it has nothing to do with beauty. I'm here today with my labor and delivery story. You guys have been wanting this video, and so I am gonna sit down today and do it for you while I have a babysitter. So this might be a long video, so I'm just gonna go ahead and jump right into it, and I'm gonna apologize in advance if I have to like jump around because I didn't make any notes and I am so scatterbrained. It is absolutely ridiculous. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So I left off with my 38-week pregnancy update for you guys. I did like monthly updates, so just look back on my channel if you want to see those if you're pregnant and kind of want to compare, because that was really fun when I was pregnant. So my 38-week update, I told you guys that I was being induced on May the 16th because I had gestational diabetes, and I forgot to even tell you all that I was positive for group B strep. So I knew I was going to be in the hospital for a little bit longer than, you know, the average stay. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So we go in on May 16th, which was a Friday. We went in at 2 a.m. Such an odd time. So it seemed like Thursday night because, let's be real, we didn't sleep Thursday night. So we go in at 2 a.m. to the hospital and they admitted me, you know, did all that jazz, put on a gown, hooked me up to an IV, asked me a million questions, blah, blah, blah. Checked me. I was not dilated at that point. Not even dilated, you all. My cervix was softened, but not dilated. I was almost 40 weeks, just a few days shy of 40 weeks at the time. So they gave me a pill, I believe it was called Cytotec, and the purpose of that was to ripen my cervix and kind of get labor started so that they could later on give me Pitocin to really put me in, you know, full-blown labor. So I had my first dose right when I got admitted, and they gave me more doses every 4 hours and would check my cervix. I never dilated. It was so frustrating. I couldn't have anything to eat or drink. I was just making no progress whatsoever, and I wanted to have this baby so bad. I didn't want to go late. I was just scared of doing that for my own reasons. So, you know, all night long they kept giving me the dose every 4 hours. I tried to sleep, but you really couldn't get any sleep, you know, in that situation. And plus, I've never been a patient in the hospital before. Never, ever. So it was so new. It was weird. Later on that morning of the 16th, you know, family started to come in just to visit and see how things were going, and basically just waited around with me. We were all miserable. There's only so much you can do in a hospital room. And so yeah, we waited just all day long, just waited around. I was not progressing. They brought in like an exercise, like birthing ball type thing, and had me bounce on it. I was probably bouncing for like 2 hours. So I just kept bouncing on the ball. Later on, it was like 4:30 that evening. The nurse came in and she was like, "Casey, you're not dilating." She's like, "Your doctor's gonna come in at 7:30, so you have 3 hours to dilate. She's gonna come in at 7:30, and if you're not dilated, we're gonna have to send you home and try again another day." And I was absolutely devastated. So I was hungry, tired, frustrated, ready to give birth. I was so tired of being pregnant and swollen. I was huge. I mean, like, my lower extremities were huge. And, you know, just ready to like meet my little baby after all this time. So that was at 4:30 that they told me that. 30 minutes later at 5 p.m. I had stopped bouncing on the ball, and I had kind of like leaned forward on it because I felt more pressure going on that way. And I had been having just mild cramps, but nothing that they were going to keep me over because I wasn't even dilated. So yeah, I had leaned forward on the ball, and I was talking to my mom and my aunt, and I was literally mid-sentence when I got like a sharper kind of pain, and I felt something happening, and then TMI, okay, I'm just gonna be real here, a big gush. My water broke everywhere. Like within a matter of seconds. It was not like a slow leak like some women have. Like we're talking major. Within just a few seconds, it had just covered every surface around me. And so I started freaking out. I was like, holy crap. So my mom like hit my call bell and she's like, her water broke. So the nurse came in, put me back in the bed, had to change my gown because I mean it was just like coming in waves, just gushing out of me. And I started to shake uncontrollably. And she was like, you're okay, it's your adrenaline, this is normal, this is a normal reaction. Because I was like, oh my god. Because I mean I've obviously never been through this before, and I was like, holy crap, my water just broke. They were getting ready to send me home. So I lay in the bed, and to be honest with you guys, like my labor started immediately. Like my contractions started, they got intense fast. They went ahead and hooked me up to the Pitocin, and I've always heard that Pitocin contractions are more painful than like natural contractions. I would like to know like how much more painful they really are, because I'm telling you what, by the time I got my epidural, I thought I was dying. I should probably put out a disclaimer here and say if you are pregnant and this is your first baby, you might not want to watch this video. Yeah, it was so just intense, and they were so back to back to back, like immediately. There were no like 5 minutes apart or anything like that. Like they started hard. I wasn't dilated enough at the time for them to give me an epidural, but I was, you know, in pain. So I was laying there in the bed. They changed my gown and, you know, everything like that. And the doctor came in and said, okay, you can have something light to eat because you're going to need energy to push this baby out. So my dad had actually went out to eat. He had went out to, you know, grab a sandwich. So we called him and asked him to bring me just like a sandwich back. Traffic was so bad because it was, you know, Friday evening. So it's like rush hour traffic, that it took him over an hour to get back to the hospital with my sandwich. And so my mom had had some crackers with her, and I tried to eat a cracker. You guys, my contractions started so fast and got so bad so quickly that I had just bit off a tiny little corner of the cracker, and it took me so long to chew it and swallow it because I was in so much pain. So by the time he got back with my sandwich, I literally could not even eat it. Like I took one bite and that was all I could even do. So the nurse offered me a shot of a pain medicine called Stadol, and I took it. I was like, give it to me. Basically, it just sent me on a trip, but didn't help my pain. The only thing it really did was, like the minute I had in between each contraction, I was just kind of knocked out. But then when my contractions would start back, you know, I woke back up and just squeezed my husband and my mom's hands. Like I had a hand in each of my hands, and just, it was so miserable because literally the only thing you can do is just lay there and take it. And I mean, it is just the worst pain I've ever been in my whole entire life. So yeah, that went on for a while. I don't remember what time I got the epidural because I was just so drugged. Because I ended up having another shot of Stadol. That one wore off, and I was like, you know what? I'm still in pain, but at least it gets me out of my head for a second, you know? So they gave me another shot of that. And so finally, they said, you are dilated enough to get an epidural, but we have to let this bag of fluids run in first. So I can't tell you how many times I looked up at that dang bag. Gosh, it seemed like it took forever to go into my IV. Finally it did, and the anesthesiologist came in, and I sat up on the bed. My husband held my hands and he gave me the epidural. I totally fell asleep during the epidural. Like I was just that drugged and out of it. Like it really did a number on me. I'm sensitive to medicine anyway, so yeah, I was like, whoo, zonked. I slept in between contractions. I had 2 contractions while he did the epidural, and in between them I was just like It did not hurt. Like, and that's the other thing. With those contractions being that painful, I told my nurse, I was like, I'm sorry, I feel like the biggest wimp ever because I wasn't that dilated. Like, they made me get to a 4. And I know, like, if you guys have had kids, you're probably like, holy crap, like I was like a 7 by the time I got an epidural. And it just really surprised me because I can take pain, I can take needles. You know, even though I've never been a patient in the hospital before, I have had a lot of procedures done to me just in my life. And I'm not a wimp. Like, I feel like I have a pretty moderate pain tolerance. That's why I'm like, this Pitocin deal, I just want to know like how much more painful that is. And I know it's probably different for everyone, so don't judge me. But they did make me get to a 4. So anyway, what was I even saying? Okay, I don't even know what I was talking about. But anyway, the anesthesiologist, he gave me my epidural, had no problems with it. I immediately felt like my legs kind of were just like going to sleep. And then it slowly started to travel upwards. And I did have one more contraction that was kind of painful, but not nearly like it had been. And it was just kind of like I was in a daze because I was so out of it. And I just remember him leaving and me saying, thank you so much. And my husband laughing at me because I was just so grateful. Epidurals are just like the best invention on the face of this earth. Because after that, I was good to go. And you know, the state all wore off. The state all wore off, and I was like back to myself and not in pain. And it was fabulous after that. Like, I could sit and talk to people. It was great. So after that, basically, we were just waiting on me to fully dilate. And late that night, I finally started to feel really uncomfortable. I had a ton of pressure. Not painful, just really uncomfortable pressure. So I hit my call light and I called the nurse in there. She checked me and I was at a 7. So she's like, okay, you know, you're progressing, but wait it out some more. So I tried to sleep, but it was absolutely impossible. I had gotten no sleep. Like, at this point, I had been up all the night before, all day, and here it's like super late at night, like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So I just kept laying there and it kept getting more and more uncomfortable. And finally, it actually started to get a little bit painful. And that's when she came in and I was 9 centimeters. I was like, okay. So I just waited a little bit longer and finally she came back in and I was fully dilated to 10 centimeters and I felt extremely uncomfortable. And they're like, well, you know, we don't want you to be in pain, but we want you to be able to feel your contractions so that you know when to push, because you've never done this before and, you know, you're going to have to really work at this. So I said, okay, you know, that's fine. So they got me ready to push and you know, like if you've never done it before, it takes you a while to kind of learn, or at least it did me. It took me, you know, a few tries to really get the hang of, you know, what I was supposed to do, even though I did totally feel that urge. Like, I knew when I needed to go. So I started to push at 11 o'clock Friday night and I was not making any progress. Like, she could not get down into the birth canal. They could feel her head, so I guess she was kind of in the birth canal, okay. But she wasn't down far enough for me to, you know, to push her out. So we kept trying all these different things. They had my legs pushed back like so far. It was unreal. This is gonna be really, you know, I'm trying not to be like too blunt, but we're talking about childbirth here. I had a nurse behind me that every time I pushed, she would push my body forward, you know, to put more pressure down there. The baby started showing signs of distress because at this point, like, I mean, I had pushed for several hours and I was so exhausted and I had nothing in my stomach. While I was pushing, like, I couldn't control it. I could feel my eyes rolling back in my head because I was so tired. They put an oxygen mask on me, like the kind that cover your whole nose and mouth. And I only had to wear it like when I wasn't pushing. When it was time for me to push, they just let me hold it up instead of strapping it onto my head. So when it was time to push, I would put it down and like concentrate all my energy on pushing. And then when the contraction was over, I would have to lay back and put the oxygen mask back on so that I could like get oxygen to her. What the deal was, well, at first the only thing they thought was wrong was that the baby was facing outward, like towards my front, and ideally she would be facing my back. So her forehead was getting caught on like my pubic bone and she couldn't come down. So they would stop periodically and let me like try to take a nap, but I ended up pushing all night long from 11 p.m. to 8 a.m. the next morning. They did every trick in the book. I was up on my hands and knees to try to get her to turn around. That's really hard to do with a numb lower body. Let me just throw that out there. Yeah, like all that time, on and off, I was pushing. Finally, at 8 a.m., here I am up on my hands and knees. My arms started to shake because I was so weak and it was so hard to like hold myself up. The nurse came in, she was like, Casey, they went ahead and they're waiting on you in the OR. You just need to go have a C-section. Because the baby is just distressing. She showed me on the monitor like what her heart rate was doing. And they're like, you just need to go to OR. Like they're waiting. The OR team is gonna come in and things are gonna move pretty fast. At that point, I gave up. I gave no fight. I was like, okay, let's just go, like whatever. And I had told myself that in the beginning, you know, whatever happens, I'm just gonna go with it. I didn't have a birth plan, you know, whatever is best for her and me is what I'm gonna do. So I was totally agreeable. I said, okay, let's go. Then I started to worry. I started like feeling my stomach. I was like, my stomach's not numb. You guys, my stomach isn't numb. Because my worst fear about a C-section was not being numb and having to be like knocked out completely and missing the birth, because I did not want to miss the birth. I wanted to be awake and like alert for everything. They're like, don't worry, we're gonna take care of you. So another anesthesiologist came in because by this time, you know, they'd switched shifts, and he gave me more medicine. They socked it to me again, let me tell you. And like I said, I am sensitive to pain medicine. So not only was I completely numb everywhere, but it like went to my head again. And I was just kind of loopy. But I was so scared. Oh my gosh, it's so scary to be on a stretcher, being wheeled down a hallway when you've never been in this situation before. I'm in the medical field, so usually I'm on the other end, like the other end of the spectrum, and it's totally different when you're the patient. And being wheeled into this room with like bright lights everywhere, and not only that, but just worrying about the safety of your baby. They made my husband wait in a separate room. They're like, we'll come and get you. We promise we won't forget about you. He was scared to death. He does not do well with medical stuff. While I was pushing, he was in the corner staring at a book. So that was kind of scary too, being wheeled into OR by myself, like not with him or anyone else with me. So they take me into the OR, and literally I'm shaking like a leaf again. Like my arms were doing that. My lower lip was like quivering. I was like a dang chihuahua, okay? Like shaking uncontrollably all over. I was so just nervous, and basically it was over before I knew it. Again, I fell asleep during the C-section. I remember hearing the anesthesiologist say, well, she just must have exhaustion. Yeah, that's an understatement. And later on, the nurse told me that she had been talking to me, and I literally just fell asleep. And that's when he said that. But during the C-section, I heard them say, oh, well, she has a nuchal cord. That explains a lot. And I knew what that was. The cord was wrapped around the baby's neck, and that is another reason why she wouldn't descend. So I end up like, I'm so grateful now that I did have a C-section. I think everything was meant to be. I was not meant to go in there and try to deliver my baby vaginally with the cord around her neck. That's risky. So I'm really thankful that I ended up with a C-section. Everything went really, really well. My doctor was like, it's a girl, Casey, she's beautiful. Oh, I felt no pain whatsoever. I just felt like, this is going to sound horrible, but I promise it wasn't. If you are going to have a C-section, please don't let this scare you. I felt tugging and kind of just like pressure and pushing, and my body, like my upper body was kind of like moving like that, like I didn't know what they were doing, but I felt no pain. I look back at my husband and he's like staring at the floor, scared to death again. And a few more minutes later, I heard suction, and it was just like I knew at that point that I was going to hear her cry at any time. And then I heard it, I heard her cry, and it was so surreal. Just the craziest thing I've ever experienced. You guys know that I'm an emotional person. Here I go again. But this is a good emotional. So after that, I heard them call Scott over, my husband Scott, over to see her. And they wrapped her up and swaddled her, and they put a little hat on her, and a nurse brought her over to see me, and I got to touch her little cheek. She was looking at me like this. She had one eye closed and one eye open. She was just absolutely perfect and beautiful. They took her away immediately, took me to recovery. They told me that she was doing okay, but they were going to keep her in the nursery for a few minutes longer just to, they said she needed to cry some more. So I don't know what, what the deal was with that, but it was probably like 20 or 30 minutes before I could see her. And I thought I would have a really hard time with that because I was so dead set, you guys, on having a vaginal delivery and being able to hold her immediately and do skin to skin and breastfeed right then and there and have like an hour with just us and my husband and no one else, and that didn't happen. But it did not bother me in the least. Like, I have not had a hard time with that at all, and I really thought I would. So that's good. So after I got back to my room, I did get to have that time with her. I was so happy. They wheeled her into me. They helped me nurse her. And we just got to sit there and just stare at her. And it was the craziest thing. Like, all this time, this is what's been in my tummy. Like, it's crazy. She looks exactly like my husband. She looks nothing like me. But that's okay. He's pretty, so there we go. She weighed 7 pounds 3 ounces. She was 20.5 inches long. She was born at 8:23 a.m. on Saturday, May 17th. Everything was perfect. Had a blast in the hospital. That probably sounds really crazy, but I had a blast. I had the best experience in the hospital. We were there until Tuesday afternoon because I had the group B strep. My C-section recovery was a breeze. I'm trying to hurry because my battery is about to die. I had no trouble with my C-section other than swelling, and that went away within like a week or so. Everything was just fabulous, and she is 7 weeks old now, and we are just thrilled with her. It is so awesome, even though she's a little bit of a challenge. I think she's a little bit colicky, and she has reflux. And she's, honestly, you guys, she fights sleep with every fiber of her being. She is so stubborn. So, but she's so worth it. She's so sweet. So, yeah, that is my labor and delivery story. I'm probably forgetting all kinds of stuff. But that's basically it. So, yeah. I know a lot of you guys are pregnant right now. Congratulations. Good luck with everything. I will be praying for you. And all you guys who still message me and still email me about your struggle to conceive, like, it makes me so sad for you guys. Like, I really do care, because I know that. I know how hard that is. I just want you guys to know that I'm still praying for you. and it will happen when the time is right. I know it's so hard to hear that, but trust me, like, I'm living proof that it happens when it's supposed to happen. Okay, so thank you guys so much for watching. If you are here from like my makeup kind of girls, I do have a makeup tutorial for this look. So I'll link it in the info bar, so just look down there. I'll also have my links to Twitter and Instagram, my babies all over Instagram. Oh gosh, I gotta start working out. Whew. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I will talk to you next time. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I love you. See you next time.